Hey everyone, Mike here again. In this video, we're going to discuss a tool that we put out recently to help users manage different aspects of their build your own device stations. This tool can also be used when interacting with Wingbits support in order to help provide appropriate information on any issue you might be having. Over time, the tool will undergo some changes, so today we're just going to cover the main features and how you can use it. This tool is called WB-config, which is short for Wingbits Configuration Tool, but typing all that can be a pain, so WB-config it is. Final note for the video, I've already logged into my test station via SSH. I'm using the PuTTY client. You can use command line if you wish. It's best if you maximize your SSH window to take up the most space possible. And also, this shouldn't be done on a mobile device with an SSH client, as the menus are kind of tough to navigate, for now at least. So, if you're on the docs.wingbits.com site, you'll see the page under Get Started called Install WB Config Tool. I'm going to click on that. Real quick, let me read the summary, just so we're all on the same page. Wingbits has created a menu-driven general configuration tool for the build your own device adsb stations, with specific features focused on the Wingbits project and maintaining your station. Our goal is to take all the commands people run more frequently and provide a single interface so there's less typing and command reference lookups. Nobody wants those. The same holds true with regards to support-related features, where we can streamline the entire process from after opening a ticket to getting resolution for your issue by having you leverage this tool. As the note below says, if you've installed today, it will be installed at 6 p.m. your local time, as the station does auto updates. If you're from the future, like some kind of time traveler, this note is probably going to be gone. And we started installing it along with everything else already, so you don't even have to worry about this. But for now, if you need it before 6 p.m. on the setup day, run the install command you see on the page. That's this command right here. To do that easiest, you can simply mouse over the area and you'll see a copy button on the far right. Click that with the left mouse button. It'll say copied. Switch to your PuTTY or SSH window, and then right click or shift insert to paste. Once you've done that, you can just hit enter. And it will tell you the Wingbits configuration tool has been downloaded and is now available to run via this command. Going back to the documentation page, you'll note that the same command is listed here that was just listed in the SSH window. So again, if this was installed after 6 p.m., you can come here. If you can't remember the name of the command, click the copy button on the right-hand side here. It'll say copied. Switch back to your SSH window and right-click or shift insert, and then hit enter. Again, same command you just see right above on the output of the installation. So this is WB-config. You can see at the top, it actually says Wingbits Configuration Tool, and it'll give you the version number of the tool. At the top left, you'll see your station name, followed by the version of the configuration installed. That's the Wingbits configuration. Followed by readsb, which is the decoder for adsb messages. In parentheses, you'll see your current gain setting. And then you'll see for readsb, whether it's active, inactive, or activating. If you see inactive or activating, it means, well, it's either inactive or it's starting up. Next thing on the top left is vector. Vector is currently the tool that is transferring your local message information to the Wingbits server, and it'll show its status, whether it's active, inactive, or activating. You'll only see activating when the system is first starting up, usually. That's when the processes are coming up online, checking everything out, doing a health check, and then they'll switch to active. One thing I will note, there is no auto update of this status, so this entire top left area will change based on what screen you're on. So if you go to a different screen, it'll update again. If you go to another screen, it'll update again. So you can't just sit here on this main screen if you see activating and hope that it'll suddenly change to active. So like I mentioned before, some of these items are probably going to change. If you watch this video in the future, the order of these items and the menu items themselves may be different. To show you what we've got right now, I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard to go up and down. The numbers are only there for reference. You can't use the number keys to move between menu items. I wish you could, but you can't. So for right now, use your arrow keys up and down to move up and down the menu. So we have set location first. In case you want to set or change the location, that's the latitude and longitude of this device. We can set the gain, which again is to change the gain for readsb. We have a video out there. You should watch it if you haven't, about optimizing your gain and what to look for. Third item on the list is setting your station ID. This is, again, what you see up here in the top left. This test machine is Fast Brick Halibut. In case you need to change that station, such as you're taking this station and you're going to deploy it at a host and you'll rebuild a new one at your house, you may want to change the station ID. Fourth option is quality of life options. We'll go through those in a second. 5 is URLs. These are going to be easy ways to get to your local tar 1090 and graphs 1090. 6 is going to be a support menu. This is going to be integral when you are interacting with support. Some of the things generated by the tools in there will be very helpful for support to try to figure out what's going on in your system and how we can possibly fix it. Number 7 is restarting your services. You can restart the individual services such as readsb or vector. You can also restart the Pi itself or shut it down. Finally, and we're going to go into this one first, is help. Help on how to use this interface. Again, this is a text-based GUI. It's not as pretty as we're used to on most modern environments, but it does work pretty well for a text-based system. So how do we go into this? We're going to hit enter. So this is a quick summary on how to use this interface. We've got up arrow that'll move up the menu items. We'll see all this over time as we run through these settings real quick and these options. You got your down arrow. You can page up and page down. If you want to scroll through some output, we'll show that as well. You can tab to select through actions. I'm going to do it right here. I'm hitting tab. And if you notice, it goes to OK. That's so I can select OK and then either use enter or space bar for basically left clicking it. Finally, escape allows you to back out of a current screen or a current menu. If you're on the main menu, you can exit to shell. Again, these are the keys we've got. They're actually fairly simple to use once you get used to it. You'll get the hang of it. Don't worry about it. Sometimes spacebar and enter are interchangeable. It depends on the context. I urge you to play with it and find out. So I'm going to hit enter to go back to the main menu. You may have noticed that the screen kind of flashed for a second. That's going to be the case on this text-based UI, also known as a TUI. It basically shows the command prompt in between showing the screens. It just flashes for a split second. So to run through these kind of quickly, setting location. If I were to hit enter, it's going to ask me for the latitude and longitude separated by a comma, and you can copy that from the Wingbits station page. Technically, that is not still listed up top on the Wingbits station page, but you can see it in the install command and just copy it and paste it from there. In this case, it'll look something like this. So this is the current latitude and longitude of this test station. I'm going to show you what happens if you try to change it. Again, I have focus right now in the text box. It's there by default. To get to set location or to cancel, I'm going to use tab. See, I can switch between text box, set location, and cancel, back to text box, then to set location. I'm going to hit enter here, and it's going to tell me, and we do have these error checks in here, the new location actually matches the current location, so it's not going to make any changes. So I'm going to hit OK. But if you need to change the location, that'll do it for you. Set gain. This is going to be, again, a little bit different. You'll get used to it. I have a hint here to say use the arrows and then the space bar to select the new gain. Then tab to move to set gain button. I don't actually tell you to hit enter once you get there, but I'm telling you now. So currently the gain is at 43.9. You'll see there's an asterisk here to signify what the current gain is. And also up above, it will tell you current gain is 43.9. If I want to change this to 44.5, I move with my arrow keys to 44.5. I hit spacebar. I hit tab to get to set gain, and then I hit enter. Now it'll tell us success. Gain has been changed from 43.9 to 44.5. We'll hit enter. And you also notice at the top in this status, which I said would update as you move between screens, it now shows 44.5, which is what we changed it to. Changing station ID, same idea. Current one shows up top just in case you want to change it to what it already is, but don't forget, it'll probably tell you, hey, you already have that name. We're not going to change anything. But if I want to change it to, I don't know, red brick penguin, I could. This is generally helpful again for if you're kind of swapping stations around. Same task again. If I put in the new station ID, I would hit tab to get to set station ID. But in this case, I'm going to show you what happens if you hit cancel. It just goes back, keeps the station ID. You can do the same thing. I'm hitting down arrow to get to 3, hitting enter to go in. If I decide this is not the menu I want, I can hit the escape key on the top left of my keyboard, and it will go back to the previous menu. Again, not changing anything. Quality of life options. These are options that we have set in the installer based on feedback from users of the way that they like to see everything set up. But this now gives you the option to change those defaults. On this menu item 4, I'm going to hit enter. These are the 3 currently existing items. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but Graphs 1090, some people like light mode, some people like dark mode. You can use this to change it. TAR 1090 routes, that shows like a source and a target destination for the flight, sometimes a middle point, like a waypoint. TAR 1090 heat maps. If you haven't seen heat maps, join the Discord, come talk about them. They're actually kind of cool. They show you where a lot of your traffic shows up in a visual way. I'll go into one, for example, so you can see what it does. Right now I have Graphs 1090 color scheme. It'll ask me which mode do you prefer, and I can choose either dark or light. Whichever one I choose, it'll say dark mode enabled because I chose dark, and it'll tell me to reload the Graphs 1090 page. That's there because a lot of people keep their tabs open on their browser. It's not automatically going to change to dark mode or light mode, depending on what you choose. You have to hit F5 or reload button on your browser to reload the page with the new mode. I'm going to escape out of this using the escape key. Go back to the main menu. 5th item we see here are URLs. Super handy for a lot of people I know have had problems trying to figure out how to get to their TAR 1090 and their Graphs 1090 screens. Also for people who have installed VPN tools like Tailscale, this makes it easier by, let me hit enter. It will show you which interfaces you have and what the IPs are and the entire URL for those IPs. So if you didn't understand any of that, basically, if I didn't have Tailscale installed, it would only show me this block of items right here, the 192.168 block. Because I've got Tailscale enabled and installed, it's showing me another IP address with URLs. So if you don't have Tailscale installed, you'll see something like this, tar 1090, graphs 1090. You can simply do this with your mouse. I'm using my left mouse button to drag and select everything. That is like a copy command when you're using an SSH window. So what I just did to highlight everything is like copy. I can now go to a browser and paste it by using normal paste, Control V, or bringing down the menu and saying edit paste, and then hit enter, and I'll go to the tar 1090 for this device. Same thing for graphs 1090. I can just grab it. Don't grab anything extra. You don't want to grab all this. You definitely don't want to grab the entire line, because when you paste it in, it's going to include this graphs 1090 and a hyphen. You don't want that. Just only copy from HTTP forward. But again, if you've got Tailscale, this is a pretty fast way, if you get on the device, to say, okay, what's my URL for getting into tar 1090 on this station? Here you go. I'm going to hit escape to get back to the main menu. I'm going to show, before I go to support, I'm going to show the restart menu just so you get an idea of what it is. This will allow you to restart vector, restart readsb. I'm just using down arrow to move through it. Restart tar 1090. Rarely do you need to do that, but we added it just in case. A device restart, in case you just want to power cycle it. And doing this the proper way through this is the same thing as running a command on the command line called sudo reboot and hitting enter. We're just giving you this way of doing it because not everybody can remember that command. And if you don't shut down the station properly, it can lose some historic data for the graphs. This will ensure that you don't. Additionally, there is a shutdown device. This literally powers it off. If it's remote and you have no way of getting it back online, do not do this. You will not get it back online. You'll have to have somebody at the remote site power it back up. Each of these last two prompts you to make sure this is what you want to do. So I'm going to, for example, hit device restart, and it's going to default to no after it asks me, are you sure you want to restart the Pi? Note, this will be immediate and it'll disconnect any remote sessions. That means it'll disconnect the one we're in right now. It defaults to no so you don't accidentally run through these menu options and hit yes and it just reboots. Same thing for shutting down. We default to no so that way you don't accidentally do it and cause yourself some hassle. Since I declined it, it'll tell me reboot declined by the user. No action will be taken. I keep hitting enter to move through those prompts. I'm going to hit escape to move back to the main menu, and we'll cover the last menu item. Last menu item is the support submenu. Going here, this is going to be integral if you need help in support. The team will prompt you and ask you to run possibly a few of these things. First thing you have to do if you're working within a ticket is install netcat. Netcat is simply a tool that allows this tool to upload log files to a remote location so that we can view them. You'll see why in a few seconds, but I'm going to tell it to install netcat by hitting enter. It's going to make sure that I want to do this. It's saying, do you agree to install it so that logs can be uploaded for support to view? Note, you will have to share the URLs for any uploads done. Just to call that out, every time you run a log option to see something for one specific service, it will show you a URL that you will have to copy and paste. So nothing is done without you intending it to happen. I'm going to say yes. This is going to take a few seconds. Well, actually, it took less than I thought. Netcat Traditional has been installed or updated successfully. I'm going to hit enter. So let's do the basic one. So you've seen on the documentation site, the debug script that we have. This is another way to run it. I'm going to hit enter on option 1 here. And as you'll notice, it looks almost identical to the debugging output when you run that script. It's just removed some coloring and some other stuff. So I'm going to tab to OK and hit enter. If I want to see how Vector is doing, again, Vector is a thing that transfers data from your station to the Wingbits server. I can hit enter on number 2 and it'll show Vector service is active, which we kind of already knew because it says active up here. It also shows some logs down below. You may note the window is kind of small. By the time you're watching this in the future, it may be expanded and more size to the actual window. But right now it's a little small. Because of that, you can't always see everything in the logs. So remember, you can use down arrow to scroll or page down to scroll page by page. Some of this may not be helpful to you right now. That's fine. More advanced users may be looking for what's their vector status, what's their readsb status. They may want to see these log files themselves. These are obviously a lot more helpful from a support perspective. And I'm going to show one example, which is, let's look at readsb logs. I'm going to hit enter. Now, because I have already installed netcat, this is going to take a few seconds. And it's going to output the recent readsb logs. To make this easy for you to help support, this up top is the URL I spoke of. This exact log file that you see further down here and all the way down, I can hit page down a few times and scroll through. That entire log file is uploaded to TermBin with this URL. So you can provide this to support when they ask, and they will have a quick way to view everything you would see on your end. Again, I'm going to hit tab and then enter to hit OK. More often than not, support's going to want all recent logs. This is going to grab logs for Vector, readsb, other stuff, and put it all together into one big file and then output it with a URL so that you can paste it for support and they can look through everything and see what's going on. The last option on here you may want to investigate at some point is if you want to stop automatically uploading. Again, we kind of need it for support, but if you're past that, you don't want to upload anything to the web, you can remove netcat by hitting enter on option 9, and it'll remove that. From that point forward, whenever you go to one of these logs and hit enter, it will no longer show that tiny URL at the top of the logs. That'll be a quick note for you. If you are working with support and you do not see a URL at the top of the log files like we just did, again, I'm going to show you one last time. I'm using Vector this time. If you don't see this at the very top of the log file output, then you have probably forgotten to install netcat. So you'll have to come down to number 8, install netcat, or wait till it's done, and then run whatever was asked of you again, such as vector logs or all recent logs. And that's about it, everybody. If you have any issues, please reach out to us on Discord. We have a tickets channel where you can open a ticket if you've got something a little bit more private in the logs, and you can have the discussion with us of what's going on and what help you need. To close this out, I'm going to hit escape to exit the tool completely, and we will be back on the command prompt in our SSH window. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Leave a comment if this was helpful or if you had any suggestions. Thanks.